Welcome, everybody. My name is Cristina. I'm part of the Soul Next team, and I'm super eager and happy to see you all here join us. Thank you for your time and for connecting with us. So before we start, I would love for you to put in chat where you're connecting from and one word that describes how you're feeling right now. So we can all kind of virtually bond.
Mm-hmm. Tired.
Oh,
I have a
yeah.
baby. So does Chris.
I also have a baby. I know the feeling. So yeah, welcome everybody again. Thank you for being here. We're bringing back this session from last week by popular demand. Last week, same day, same hour, we were hosting this session, introducing our two tools, and we got some people sending on messages saying that they couldn't join us. So here we are again. I'm very happy that we get to do this again because it's super exciting. If you haven't met them yet, with us, Greg Galle, our CEO, Carlos Lopez, our CTO, who will today be showcasing two of our amazing tools that we have been working on for the last period of time that tackles a common problem that I'm sure we all have encountered. So without further ado, let's get started. Greg, over to you.
All right. Thank you. Let's see if I can actually get my, always a little cursor challenged here. We're going to show you two tools today, as Chris mentioned. I'm going to show you one that is live, the beta version is live, and you will be able to try it out, test it out. We'll make sure we provide you with the link at the end. And then Carlos is going to show you one that's in the early stage of development, and we're really looking for input from you and guidance in terms of what we're building. So one of the things I love about working with Carlos is that he is always inviting input early and often, and wants to hear from our users and our clients and our allies and ambassadors and so on. Please don't be bashful in terms of sharing what you think. Some of you are going to be familiar with the next cycle that I have up on screen. This is I think of it kind of like our subway map for innovation. It shows a journey going from the upper left-hand corner. It shows this journey of the formulate stage, where we're getting clear about what we're doing and why we're doing it, into the incubate stage and the accelerate stage to operating and growing, and it loops around just like the circle line in London. What we're going to do today is we're going to be actually focused on the pain hypothesis discovery stage and then validating pain hypotheses. So for those of you who are engaged in innovation, you might have this experience that people get super excited about solutions. So they show up with a solution hypothesis, right? They have an idea of something that they want to work on, that they want to develop, that they want to move forward, but they've skipped some of these early steps. We often find when we're engaging with clients that this important phase of pain and problem discovery and really identifying innovation opportunities that are meaningful, that are worth investing in, has been skipped, and therefore they end up working on things that are going to have a lower sort of return in terms of the capital and the value that they create. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to focus on the pain hypothesis discovery stage. Carlos, as I said, will do the wanted validation. And when we're doing our work, we're thinking about, we're kind of structuring our thinking this way. Like, what is the big problem at pain hypothesis discovery? What's the problem that we're actually working on and encountering? So and I want to say that this isn't just for people who wear an innovation hat in their organization. Unfortunately, there's this myth that there are some people who are innovators and the rest of the organization is just there to work on optimizing performance, when in fact, in every function in an organization, there is an opportunity to innovate. There's an opportunity to create change and to make things better. And so whether I'm in marketing or finance or legal or manufacturing, operations, whatever the group or I'm a part of, there's an opportunity to actually create value, to do something that's going to have meaningful impact. And what we find often is that because we get excited about a solution, that we stop this important stage of identifying what is the customer need, that's an internal customer or client or an external customer. And by not looking at that need, we actually risk losing different forms of capital, whether that's financial capital, or intellectual capital, or reputation capital, or social capital. We put a lot of different kinds of capital at risk by not doing this important step. So the big job to be done here is understanding a customer's pains and problems and identifying if the opportunity is really one to create significant value. The tool to help with that job to be done that I'm going to demonstrate, the next tool that we're working on, we're calling the pain hypothesis generator. And it allows us to create many ideas or theories about where there is an opportunity to create a change, and then be ready to test those or to validate those. So that's where we're going to start. Let me go ahead. I'm going to switch over to my other screen. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And what you're seeing on the screen now is a landing page for our sort of prototype of the next tools. This lives just next door to the next lab, to our digital toolbox that many of you are familiar with, meaning these tools haven't yet been integrated into the lab, but you can have access.
Greg,
Yeah.
we're not seeing that.
Oh, let me be sure that.
I mean, maybe it's just me.
No, you're right. You're not seeing it. Okay.
Okay, now we're seeing it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Greg, for speaking up. So here we're looking at this landing page. It's a sort of placeholder for the tools that we're building, the beta versions of the tools. We're going to send the link out to this, and you'll be able to test these out. This is going to be a place where you can access the tools for free and give us feedback and input. The Worth It tool is live, and you can go ahead and play with that. That's for further on validating solutions. We're going to focus on this pain hypothesis generation tool. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. That's going to take me to a landing page specific for this tool itself. I'm going to go ahead and access the tool here, and I'm going to configure it. So I'm going to ask just if somebody could put into chat for me a problem that you're maybe working on that you would like me to just use as the demo. So maybe a pain or a problem that you're dealing with today that you think represents an opportunity to make an improvement or transform the way things are done. Anybody want to throw one in chat? A live problem. High turnover rate. Great. Thanks, Greg. I knew I could count on you. I would have put money that I was going to get one from you. Okay. And I'm going to turn on an AI assistant here. So I'm actually going to get AI assistance, and I'm going to show you how that works. I can choose between the model I want to use. I'm going to stick with Anthropic. That's on by default, but you could use ChatGPT as well. And I'm going to give the AI a little bit of context. So Greg, high turnover rate give me an industry. What industry are we thinking of?
Airline.
Airline. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. And tell me just a little bit more about the problem that we're actually trying to solve here. Where are maybe we experiencing this high turnover rate?
The cost of turnover is about $8,700 per employee, and the turnover rate is very high.
Okay. And the rate is very high. Okay. So the high cost of turnover on an employee. And then what's your biggest desire?
Find employees which are engaged and build a culture and a reward system that motivates people to want to stay on long term.
Great. Okay. All right, great. Thank you. So you can see that I failed my 7th grade typing class.
That's okay.
But I got it in there. Okay, so we've got the high turnover rate. So what I did is I entered in, I gave it that context. And now we're going to do, the tool is basically a series of drills. Many of you know these exercises that we run in live in person on posters or virtual using things like Miro boards and posters on those boards. What the tools do is they take us through those drills, through those different activities that we use, in this case, for pain finding, problem finding, for discovering innovation opportunities. And the first activity that we're going to go through is DPAR, which is a combination of two drills. One's called deflection point, where we're looking at what's the big from to shift that we're trying to create, what's the status quo, the current state, and what's our aspirational future state. And then we look at anchors and rockets. What are the things that are holding us back, and what are the things that could get us up to that aspirational state? And so there's a little on the tool, there's a little video here that if you wanted to get, it's an explanation of the drill and what we're going to do here, we could play that. And a little bit more of what we're setting out to do, describing the predictable path, the bold path, the anchors, and the rockets. I can, if for example, if I was working with a specific airline and we had a like, let me just, my least favorite airline, I won't say it by name, but a culture of
You can say it.
written and bitterness.
It wouldn't be United, would it?
Especially among flight attendants. So I'm going to enter that one. And then I'm going to use AI to generate some more. So I'm just going to generate a few more here. I could add some additional context, again, to be specific about my organization. So think about this. When I'm using the AI, what I'm getting is access to all existing knowledge on the topic, but I may need to add some peculiar or specific or nuanced context about my own organization. And then I can generate the suggestions. Now, because the tool's living outside of the lab, the way that you're going to get to it is you're going to provide it with an email address. This will then be attached. This use of this tool will be attached to that email. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to get a link here that I'm going to copy, and that's going to be the way that I can get back to this tool later on, right? So I'm going to close that, and now I'm going to have it generate some suggestions. All right, my trackpad is behaving strangely here. There we go. And now,
Greg,
yeah,
just a quick question. Is there a reason why you go through that process on user interface? I've always been curious about that. So
the process of
putting your email in and then getting back a URL and then going to that particular. I've always was interested in why that happened.
Carlos, you want to?
Sure, we're in beta version, so that's the easiest way that we can have something working that you can go back to, rather than have you log in and create an account and then.
Okay,
that's
good.
So it's sort of a shortcut to be able to get to it. So I'm saying it's living outside the lab right now. Ultimately, this will be integrated into the lab, and you'll go in the lab, it'll all be there. But because it's outside, you need to be able to find it and get back to it, right? Easily.
Okay.
So here we've generated some suggestions on this predictable path. High turnover continues, leading to increased training costs, reduced productivity, and poor morale among remaining staff. Lack of employee engagement results in subpar customer service, damaging the airline's reputation and competitiveness. Failure to address root causes of turnover perpetuates a cycle of hiring, training, and losing employees, straining HR. I'm going to click on each of these, select all three of those, and say, let's add those to the drill. So now it's added these. Now, I've added one myself, and then I had the AI model assist me. I could also go in and modify these if I want to. I can edit them so I can make them more nuanced or more specific to my organization. I could delete them if I wanted to. And I can continue to add some of my own. So for those of you who are working sort of asynchronously, or maybe you're working in a hybrid model, you might have some people working in a room on a poster and be bringing some things into the model. You might have somebody sitting sort of at their desktop piloting this as well. So it's super flexible. the main thing here is that it's important that when we're using AI, that we are remaining the driver, that we're evaluating and thinking critically about what the AI is generating and saying, does that feel right and relevant to the problem that we're working on? So I've generated the AI for the predictable path. I'm going to go ahead and generate for the bold path as well. So predictable path, that's our current state, the status quo. The bold path, that's our aspirational future state. So in any innovation work, we're thinking about what's that big from to shift? What's the current state? What's the future state? And how do we describe that, right? I could give some additional context here. Like I could say, I want to look at all 6 forms of capital when we're looking at the predictable path and the bold path. I could give it context to say, I only want to look at how this is impacting executives or how it's affecting our high, I don't know the United program labels, but the sort of loyalty club members, that kind of thing. So you could make it more specific. I'm going to add these descriptions of the bold path: implement a comprehensive employee engagement program, redesign employee experience to prioritize well-being, work-life balance, and personal development, establish a culture of recognition and rewards that celebrate employee achievement. So I'm going to go ahead and add all of those. I'm going to
hey Greg, it was kind of my suggestion, so thanks for taking it, but baggage handlers is a bigger issue. Mechanics is even a bigger issue. I know you put
flight attendants.
I know you put flight attendants. That isn't actually, it's fine that you put it. It's okay. This is just an example, but it is baggage handlers and mechanics.
Okay, let's see what happens. Okay.
You might want to add it to the mix, see what we get.
Yeah, let's see what happens here. Okay.
Be cool to see what it comes up with.
Yeah. Okay. Implement a gamified learning and development platform that enables baggage handlers, mechanics, and other employees to acquire new skills and compete in challenges and earn rewards, leading to increased engagement. Seems fairly generic. Establish an employee-led innovation lab that empowers baggage handlers, mechanics, and other frontline staff to collaborate on process improvements and technology solutions. So these are on the bold path. So again, I could add these, right? I can generate as many of these and delete and modify or edit as many as I want. And I can add, these might cause me to think of one of my own that I want to add, right? So it's this, I'm getting the state of play with the AI assistant and building that way. Let me go ahead and generate my anchors. Again, keep in mind problems with baggage handle and mechanic handlers. Okay. And I'm going to generate those.
Great suggestions.
Yeah. So one of the really powerful things about AI is that you get complete ideas, and so they're much more comprehensive than what we usually jot down on a Post-it. And you're accessing a universe of knowledge that no one of us contains in our head. So that's kind of handy. So lack of career advancement opportunities for baggage handlers and mechanics leads to a perception of dead-end jobs causing high turnover. Insufficient training and support for new hires in physically demanding roles like baggage handling and maintenance result in early burnout and disengagement. Inadequate recognition and compensation for critical contributions of frontline staff foster resentment and a lack of loyalty. So those all feel pretty good, right? They feel like real anchors. And now I'm going to generate some AI suggestions here. And I put that on my clipboard. So I'm just going to put in the baggage handler and mechanics reminder. I'm going to generate those. Okay, implement a skill-based pay system that rewards baggage handlers, mechanics, and other employees for acquiring and applying new competencies and encouraging continuous learning and career growth. Launch an employee well-being program that provides tailored support for the unique physical and mental health challenges faced by baggage handlers and mechanics. Create a transparent career lattice that showcases multiple pathways for advancement across different departments, including opportunities for baggage handlers and mechanics to transition into leadership training or innovation roles. love that Career Lattice is there. I actually worked on the book by Kathy Banco called Career Lattice. So it's made it in there.
Can I ask a question, Greg?
Yeah.
Wonderful tool, by the way. It's fantastic. You guys did a great job. As you went down this path, predictable path, bold path, what's prompting the AI, or is it just what you gave it for the rockets, for the anchors? Because obviously what it is progressively came up with more and more suggestions.
Yeah.
But is there something in there that you've already put into it that's doing that?
Just the context at the beginning. So one of the things with AI, what you'll see with the AI is the richer the context, the better, right? So the more context that I can give it at the beginning, like what's the problem you're working on, what's your industry, what's your desired output, they could be much more robust than the one line I gave it. And then the additional context that we're providing each time we're prompted, the more context I give it, the more specific and nuanced and generative the responses will be. Carlos, anything that you would?
Yeah, I wanted to add that on the back end, Greg, we have trained this model, and the prompts that are given to it
That's what I thought.
Include a bunch more information regarding in this case this drill. So every time you move over in the next tool, it's trained, and we have prompts that are added to the context that Greg has been inputting it.
I thought something was going on because it didn't. In other words, you've already trained it on the back end. And so thank you for that, because that just clarified. If I tried this with ChatGPT on my own, there's no way it would come up with the same set of scenarios. So I love that it was trained on the back end.
Yeah.
Great job. Thumbs up.
You'd have to, what you'd have to do would be basically just create a GPT and try to train the GPT in ChatGPT, but you don't want to have to do that every time, right? And it also they also drift, and so Carlos has built something that's a lot more stable in terms of the every time you repeat it, it's giving you much truer responses.
Well, you've given it guidelines.
Yeah. So now we're going to go from DPAR, from deflection point anchors and rockets, to Feel My Pain. Feel My Pain is a drill some of you may be familiar with. It actually looks at emotions, right? And says, okay, given what we've just described in terms of the current state and the future state and the anchors and the rockets, how do we think that somebody who, look, baggage handlers and let's say baggage handlers and mechanics, how do we think they might be feeling given that reality? And so I'm going to auto-generate these feelings here. And it's going to give me a set of emotional states. And sometimes people ask, so resentful is one that came up. It looks like I've got, oh, that's interesting. Came up with one. I'm going to pick let's go. Demoralized, frustrated, and I'm going to select resentful here. Okay, so we have those feelings. So I could be, given the situation we described, demoralized, frustrated, resentful, and maybe I'm going to add in hopeless here. All right, so I've got a mix of the AI generated feelings, given its read on what we generated before, and then I've added a couple in. And we look at these feelings when we're looking for innovation opportunities. We look at negative emotions, because they're like little green shoots coming out of the soil that says, hey, there's an opportunity to actually make something better here, because somebody's feeling something that is actually resulting in dissatisfaction. And where there's dissatisfaction, there's an opportunity for an improvement. Where there's an opportunity for improvement, there's an opportunity for value creation, right? So that's why we look at these feelings. So I'm going to continue that. And then we're going to go to the pain tree drill. So we've done deflection point. What's the current state, future state? How are people feeling in that? And then with pain tree, we're going to look at what do we think for these different feelings: demoralized, frustrated, hopeless, and resentful. What are the consequences of somebody feeling those? And what do we think are the root causes? And again, it's building from where we started, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to generate the use AI to generate these. Again, I could modify these in any way that I wanted to. I can delete some of them, I can edit them, and I can add my own. I'm just, for the sake of the demo, I'm using most of the AI generated, so you can see how this gets filled out. The Board of Innovation has a really nice diagram that Carlos shared with us that shows how the typical diamond shape of design thinking, where we're being divergent and then convergent. And they call it a stingray model, where it's actually a rapid sequence of those, where we go from light blue thinking being what the AI model is generating, to dark blue thinking, what the human is doing in terms of evaluating and assessing what's there and redirecting, right? So what we have to become really good at is redirecting and evaluating what's being generated and adding what we know to be true about our unique circumstance within our market or within our organization. So this has generated some, we had the pains. It's generated some consequences of feeling those things, and it's generated some root causes. So root causes are really what we're interested in from an innovation standpoint. So given the current state and the desired future state, what's holding us back? What are the underlying problems that represent an opportunity to create some change, to actually do some innovation work that's going to have the potential to create real value? So here I'm going to select 3 of these root causes. Lack of recognition for hard work and contributions, poor communication and feedback from management, inadequate support and resources to perform job effectively, insufficient, I'm going to select insufficient training and development opportunities. I'm going to say lack of mentorship and guidance from experienced staff.
The compensation one, inadequate compensation.
Inadequate compensation? Okay, good. All right, so we'll pick, those 3 look okay, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
good. So let's continue with those. Now what it does is it's moved me to this pain sizer drill. And with pain sizer, it's looked at this and it says, let's auto generate. It's going to tell me the feelings for each of the root causes that I identified. So how are people feeling specific to that root cause problem? And it's going to size these. And what it's going to do, the way it sizes, so here, lack of recognition, unappreciated, demotivated, resentful, poor communication and feedback, confused, disconnected, and frustrated, inadequate support and resources, overwhelmed, helpless, and stressed. And what we're sizing here is how prevalent is the problem among the workforce, how severe is it, and then what are the consequences? So we do t-shirt sizing, small, medium, or large, and then we say, so how high is the priority that we address it? When we're looking for innovation opportunities, we're sizing these pains and problems, we're looking for some combination of 2 L's and an M. So 2 larges and an M, meaning it's significant enough that we ought to be addressing it. That says that there's some urgency because so many people are experiencing it, or it's so severe, or it's so costly that ignoring it is very risky. And there's likely enough dissatisfaction with the current state for people to adopt and embrace new solutions. So as we're looking at innovation opportunities and evaluating them, this kind of sizing and rating is really important. Here you see this one's 3 mediums. I would tend to deprioritize that. Inadequate support and resources, large, medium, lack of recognition of hard work and contributions, large, medium, large. So I'd probably focus on those 2. So now I'm going to continue that. And I'm going to generate a set of pain hypotheses for each. So we follow this structure. We believe this constituent has a problem which leads to a certain set of consequences, right? So I'm going to generate based on the pain sizing activity that we just did, I'm going to generate these alternative pain hypotheses that we would then in turn evaluate or validate. So we believe that baggage handlers and mechanics have a lack of recognition for their hard work and contributions stemming from inadequate compensation, limited career advancement opportunities, and insufficient support from management, which leads to a feeling of being unappreciated, demotivated, and resentful, resulting in high turnover rates and reduced loyalty to the organization. So as an example, and we see that you have 2 more. Flight attendants have a cultural resentment and bitterness caused by poor communication from management, inadequate training and support, and a lack of appreciation for their critical roles. leads to frustration, disengagement, sense of hopelessness, contributing to subpar customer service and damage to the airline's reputation. That's very true as a passenger. We believe that new hires in physically demanding roles have insufficient training and support, coupled with a lack of clear career path and growth opportunities within the organization, which leads to early burnout, disengagement, and a high likelihood of turnover, perpetuating a costly cycle of hiring and training without addressing the root causes. So at this point, I've got 3 hypotheses that I can, because we're living outside of the lab, I can save these. I'm going to save them. They're associated with my email address. And I get this link. I'm going to send that to you, Greg, so you've got it. And you can go and play around with this one and make changes. And then I could also just print these out so I could have the hypotheses to work with. So that's the pain hypothesis generator. Again, it's a tool for identifying innovation opportunities that are worth pursuing at this very early stage of the innovation process. I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to go ahead and ask if there are any questions at this point. So let me.
I don't know if it's a question, Greg, but it's a comment that kudos to you and the team. The iterative process that you just went through would have taken me twice as long without the AI to come up with those answers. And even if I had used ChatGPT, I wouldn't have gotten quite the iterative analysis that you just went through. So I'm grateful for you guys, because that is, it's a crazy good tool.
Thanks, Greg.
I mean, it's what helped start your engagement with the client is the analysis. So you've given us a tool that is like, hey, here's what I've come up with. What do you think? Now it's time to go to work. And it didn't cost us a lot of money to generate that.
Right. Yeah, and this is one of the impacts that we're seeing of AI on innovation teams. It's actually, we have a client that is a venture. They do corporate venturing with global 1,000 companies. Sort of every engagement that they have is $1 million engagement, and they've seen that what used to take a venturing team that used to be 7 people now can sort of shrink down to 2 or 3 people. And it's because of this augmentation that we're getting with the AI. It can do it on its own, but it's like having a research assistant with superpowers. So
it is. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Greg, this is impressive. Quick question.
Yeah, sure.
This tool in the scenario you just showcased, assume that we are at step 0.
Yeah.
In most cases, when I engage with companies, they already have a hypothesis.
A solution hypothesis or a problem hypothesis?
Both.
Yeah.
How can I reset the conversation so that I can actually embed their hypothesis and showcase the fact that they may not be focusing on the right one?
Yeah. So I think you've just teed up what Carlos is going to show us, which is the wanted validation tool. So in the next cycle, if you think about the, I'll go ahead and just sort of advance this. What Carlos is going to show us is this how we validate that there are needs or problems. So that the problem or the opportunity is actually worth pursuing. So we could take the hypothesis doesn't have to be generated from the pain hypothesis generator. It could be that our client has one already, and we want to do some evaluation on, is that thing actually wanted? Is there a need, a significant enough need? And so we could take a stack of those, and we could do that. And if we're coming back with results that aren't sufficient, then we could say, let's actually repeat the pain hypothesis discovery generation stage. Let's go back and do that. We've also had clients who've got a bunch of solution hypotheses, but they never did generate what are the real pains and problems that we ought to be focused on. So there's a lack of strategic alignment, and they go back. So they're both working forward on developing solutions, and they're going back and redoing the work to say, are the opportunities that are in our portfolio the appropriate set? And should we be kicking some of them out? We talk about that as liberating capital. Should we liberate capital so we can redeploy it to higher potential opportunities?
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay. All right, so if there aren't other questions, Chris, was there anything else, or are we good to keep going? Keep going? Okay. So as I mentioned, Carlos this is early stage development. He's going to share with you a tool that he's working on currently to give you a little sneak preview, and then get some feedback as well. So at this stage, we actually see that organizations, and Hervé hinted at this, move into development of solutions before they've actually validated the problem. They haven't validated the market opportunity, the innovation opportunity, and that puts all the different forms of capital at risk, as well as the credibility of the team, right? The team can lose face in an organization if they move through a cycle with something that hasn't been validated and approved later after a significant investment has been made to not have been a real opportunity. I always talk about people building ghost towns, and we don't want to build a ghost town, right? It's like we created this amazing place that nobody shows up because it was a solution that nobody had a need for, right? So the big problem is that the big job to be done is testing hypotheses to ensure investments are made in validated strategic and urgent problems. These are actually, both strategic, they fit what we should be doing as an organization, and they're urgent in terms of that t-shirt sizing that I just showed you. And the next job, the next tool for that job to be done is the wanted tool that Carlos is going to demonstrate. So Carlos, let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen so you can take us through that.
Sure. So here we are. So getting to the question, right? If you already have a hypothesis, right, this would be a great place to start. This is the new tool that we're working on, which is actually aimed at helping you answer that question. Hey, is that, hypothesis wanted or not? Which is what a hypothesis is, right? We want to validate if it's true or not. So this is the way this new next tool, the wanted next tool, is going to look like. So you're going to identify that innovation opportunity. You're going to give it a name. Let's say we were working on the one that we were working with Greg. It would be about, the high turnover. You can turn AI assist on or off, same as with the tool that was just shared. We don't necessarily need to use AI, but you can use AI. So once you're here, again, you can give it more context. And the more context you give to AI, or the more detailed the context, the better the AI will work. Even though, as I said before, we have trained this model on all the drills that it needs to use and all the guidelines, as Greg said. If you add to it more context via the industry that you're at, the problem that you're working on, and the value that you want to create, it will generate even more deep insights. So once you give this a configuration to the AI assist, you could begin. And as you can see, this is a similar tool, but it starts with a pain hypo generation. It starts with a pain hypothesis. It ends with a pain hypothesis. And we have a pain hypothesis in the middle, because the idea is that we're going to be iterating on that hypothesis so that we can tweak it each time, so that we can make it better as we go over. So the first thing they should do on this tool is, if you come from the pain hypo generator tool, you just, copy and paste that through here, right? But if we're in another stage, like we just said, you're working with a team that already says that they have a hypothesis, then you can just input that here. Once you have that pain hypothesis here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a drill that it's the pack drill, or the is it wanted path, right? If you're familiar with the methodology, we always talk about the importance of the presumptions, the assumptions, and the knowledge that you have about that particular hypothesis. So if you have a hypothesis, then you need to work on what you presume about it, right? Which are assumptions that you're not going to test, what you assume about it, right? And what you know. And we've always said that the best thing, or the best way to know, is to believe in God, right? Is to believe in gathering your own data. So if you have gathered your own data, then you know how you know, right? How do you know? You should put there how you gathered your own data in order to know. That's very, very important. So after we do this, and you have put all the assumptions, presumptions, and knowledge, we're going to do something with the assumptions, which is exactly what we want to test, right? But before we do that with the assumptions, we can ask AI to help us generate even more. So you can get some assumptions generated here from the backward context, and then you're gonna put those. You're gonna move those in this 2x2 graphic here. So, for example, if I take the first one, the idea is that I'm gonna put it in one of these 4 quadrants, right? Either you're going to tackle those first, you're going to trust but verify, you're going to monitor periodically or validate if time allows, and that's based on the impact and the certainty that you have on each of those assumptions. So if you know that it's a high impact assumption, but it's a low certainty one, right? Then that's the one that you should tackle first, and those are the ones that we're going to focus on. So once you have placed your assumptions on this 4x4, then you're going to redo your pain hypothesis. The idea is that with what you have just worked on, and also if you have turn on the AI assist, this could, of course, generate another version of the pain hypothesis. So you could try and generate a new pain hypothesis based on the work they have done. So far, of course, you can always edit those. Once you do that, you can go into what would be my favorite part of this tool, which is how do we validate this, right? So we've been working with AI and ourselves trying to gain more knowledge or list our assumptions about it. But one crucial thing is to go out and ask people, right? That's something that you should do. But a great point to start is this tool that we're calling AI Focus Group, which is a way of creating a digital focus group, a virtual focus group, that's gonna talk about that pain hypothesis. They're literally gonna have a conversation aided by a researcher. So a focus group is gonna talk about this pain hypothesis and is gonna give us feedback on it. So the way that you do this is you're going to have the hypothesis here, right? But the first thing that you need to do is create we're calling them AI personas. They want them to talk or to be part of the focus group. So what do we need for this? Hopefully we just need 2 things. So we're going to need just the occupations or roles of them and the location. The other 2, which are the age range and the additional context, are optional. So you could just fill them out, for example, like this. We just want CEOs around the US. That would be good enough, let's say. You could add the age range or you could add some additional context. What this is going to do is with the same theory behind synthetic users, we're going to create these user personas. These AI personas are a full-on profile of what you just gave us, a CEO in the United States. But it's going to change the demographic for each one. So as of now, it's going to generate 5 of them, right? Each of them is going to be a full rich profile, including some psychological measures from organizational psychology, some personality traits, and other stuff that's going to make up that persona. That's going to be more clear on our first release of this AI focus group tool, which is hopefully going to be in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And then you're going to be able to understand how this works on the behind closed doors or on the back end. So once you have those AI personas, so Jim, Michael, Dan, John, and Robert, who are CEOs in the US, they're going to talk inside a focus group, and they're going to talk about that pain hypothesis that we were working on. This is going to go on the back end. They're going to have this conversation, and we're going to receive this as an output. We're going to receive from each of those personas, we're going to receive something like that we call as a SU feedback tool, which is I like, I wish, and I wonder. So each of them are going to give you I like, I wish, I wonders of them. They're going to have some open-ended questions, and also they're going to give you a wanted score, right? So if you see this now, you see that each persona has given us the likes, wishes, and wonders, some open-ended questions, and a wanted score. So this is a way to summarize that conversation that they really had, right, in something that's more quantifiable and easy to understand. We're going to average the wanted score. Of course, in this in this dummy version, the ones magically average to a 3, but you're going to have a real average there. And you're going to see, based on the thresholds that you as an organization or as an individual are comfortable with, you can change these thresholds of what is a low wanted score, medium wanted score, or high wanted score to, it would change the little colors of the wanted score that each of the personas gave you and the overall wanted score. So that's like a snapshot of the conversation. But you could also have the summary of the conversation. So this is a summary that is put here by the researcher. Remember I told you a researcher was talking with these personas. So that researcher is going to give us a summary. So you can see that summary of that conversation. For that summary, you could talk to that summary. So you could actually talk to the summary and say something like, hey, you know what? Give me a summary in just 5 bullet points, or just give me the overall sentiment of the AI personas that were there. And you can, get more detailed summary based on your feedback. And also you could, of course, read the full transcript of a conversation. The conversations are usually like 2 or 3 pages long, and you can download the whole thing, right? You can see the conversation that went on, what each participant said, what the researcher said and asked them, so you can see the full conversation. And you can, of course, use all this as input for the decisions that you need to take. So after doing that, this awesome AI focus group, you should, rewrite the pain hypothesis, right? Because you now have had some feedback from synthetic users, and now you can rewrite the pain hypothesis, right? Of course, you can ask AI to help you out with that based on the summary of the conversation. And that's how this tool ends, with a rewritten pain hypothesis that is hopefully way more accurate than the one that you started with. So that's what I wanted to show you. So, Chris.
Thank you, Carlitos. It's always wonderful to hear you showcase that. I'm so proud of that tool.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Hervé, I think you could see how that tool will be super useful for the client that you're describing, that they already think they understand what the problem is. So let's actually share it with this group of synthetic. We can decide what the demographics and the profile are of the different AI personas, and let's get a richer set of feedback. And I think importantly in the work that all of us are doing, AI is not a substitute for a human interaction, but it should get us a much more robust, much more complete, and much more developed problem hypotheses as well as solution hypotheses, so that when we do spend time going and engaging with clients or going and engaging in the marketplace, that we're a lot closer to what the answer is. I will say, with all the work we've been doing with AI, I actually feel like what we get out of the model is sometimes much more robust than what we get out of people, right? And again, it has the ability to draw on a universe of existing knowledge. What its weakness is, its inability to do leaps of human ingenuity. So it can't do creative leaps, but it's very good at doing this kind of work.
Yes,
and I say it can't do creative leaps yet.
I would add to it that certainly our hope is that we give people that are working in innovation, right, like a super robust extension of a tool, right, that it can help you make better decisions, right, and see insights that you might not see if you don't use our tools, right? If you go through our Think Wrong intensives and all the work that we do, you know that the kind of work you do on the drills helps your mind expand and open up to new possibilities. Now, imagine that with the aid of AI. So that's the idea, to help you broaden the spectrum of possibilities rather than just flat on replace you.
Yeah, I think there's a question there from Sarah that's related to that. Sarah says that she wants to better understand how we see the role of AI. I like your suggestion of helping the facilitator in the sense of asking good questions relevant to the group without being expert in their field. It is not intended to replace the humans in a Think Wrong workshop, but that's not to say it couldn't. So, you know, I think there's a lot of benefit that comes to convening groups, bringing people together, working on challenges together. We've been using AI and using tools like this in the room live, where we might have people working on a wall, working on posters with Post-its. We'll use something like the 3M app or the Miro app to capture those, digitize them, bring them in. We'll then take that and bring it into the AI model and have the AI expand on what the team has thought. We then have the team evaluate what the AI model produced and pick and choose what it wants to move forward with. So it is this iteration. I often describe the work that we're doing as it's not a straight line going from A to B to C to D. It's a looping process, right? Where this iterative work is we generate something and then we come and revisit it with a richer understanding because of the work that we just did. And the AI assistant really does augment that and gives us a much richer set of inputs to evaluate and to consider. So it's sort of working hand in hand, as opposed to making either or kind of choice. But it does change the cadence of a live session. Like if you're going to go from in the room working on posters to suddenly I'm sitting with somebody working and putting stuff into a laptop, and then we're back working on the wall. What we've done, we've had projectors in the room so that people, well, somebody's putting in, the rest of the team can be looking at what they're putting up on the wall. And so we're going back from the physical to the sort of virtual, right? And playing with that. And you have to get comfortable orchestrating that.
So before we continue with questions, I'm gonna just ask a favor from everybody. I just shared a link in chat, and I'm gonna give you 1 minute to fill in a very quick form. So you can help us improve our work, so you can help us get better insight from our tools. So if you fill in this form very quickly for us, that would be amazing. Thank you very much. And if you have actually more questions, we have another minute, maybe time for an extra question before we all continue with our day. Evening from those joining from the other side of the world. And as we wrap up, I'm gonna take these extra minutes that we have available to make a shameless plug. We have recently launched our podcast. It's called the Make Next Happen podcast. It is one in which we have started to join Greg and Daniel. I don't know if you all know him, but he's a COO, and they both join in conversation to talk about how to build serious capital and how to make innovation work. It's 20-minute conversations per episode in which we share some insights and cases, and it's fun to hear, and it's nice also for you to be on top of what we've been doing and we've been working on besides these tools. So if you want to follow us, if you want to drop us a line and a review, if you listen to us and you like it, please do. I'm gonna drop a line in the chat to give you access to the tool. And link to our tools. So as Carlito said, in the next couple of weeks, we will be having the Want tool online, or its first iteration of its version. But the pain hypothesis tool is already live. So, and for now, for this brief period of time, it's free. So please go ahead, play with it, use it, show it to your teams, bring it to your sessions, and give us some feedback on how it feels and how it works. And before you all leave, please, I would love for you to just close your eyes and think of the first thing or first scenario that comes into your head in which you think that these tools would be helpful for you. And Tessa, welcome. Yes, we are recording, and we can get in touch after this conversation so you can get access to all of our materials and ask all the questions you need. Thank you for joining us. And it's 30 on the hour. So thank you all for joining us. It's always a pleasure to see you, to meet you, all of those who I haven't met before. And so for you to know, we're doing this every month. So you will be hearing from our next webinar, in which we will be introducing new tools and new points of view about innovation and serious capital building. Thank you all, and have a great rest of day and evening.